Being in prison isn't only a deprivation of your liberty, it's the calculated deprivation of everything that defines you. Your family, your friends, your clothes, your work, everything is taken away. Everything that makes you who you are in the world. You can only wear prison greys, in 1,000 shades of grey that blend into the grey walls and the grey prison officers and the grey skies. The trauma and daily violence just become part of everything normal. You have to find a way out. Something to elevate you above the barbed wire fencing and endless dirty corridors of pain and torment. For some, this is their art. For me, it was my painting. Drawing and painting materials were allowed to be sent in to me, bizarrely, in spite of endless security measures put in place by a paranoid prison system. And I developed a skill that I'd neglected since I'd left school. Anna's art is interesting. There's a shadow of Egan Sheila's erotic poses draped over her naive fashion illustrations with labels Gucci, Chanel, Balenciaga written besides items of clothing. There are titles and signatures written across them, Play With Me, I'm Bored, and several other inspiring sketches that you'll find in our Autumn-Winter 2023 edition of The View. So do look out for it. You can download it on our website, and you'll also be able to read this interview online. We started to talk a little bit about how it felt to be a migrant in America. Did you feel, in your case, let down by the justice system? Did you feel heard?
I felt like the criminal justice system is just way more structured than the immigration one, because with immigration, you just feel like they don't have any deadlines or like any timelines. Like you have 30 days to file an appeal, but like they don't have any deadlines to like issue a decision. It's like, if they want to take 3 years, there is no one to tell them that they can't. There's like no law in existence that would like prevent them from doing so. So it's just the timelessness of it. It's like, you can like file all this stuff, but it's like nobody owes you a decision. I think it's universal with the immigration system. Like even if you are applying for something from out of country, it's like, you can apply for something, but it's like, will you ever hear back? It's like, it's nice that there's an option, but it's like, it's no good if you actually never get a response.
Yes, you're just left sort of living this life in limbo. So it's hard to make any plans or kind of look to the future, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, that was the hardest thing. It's like that, and like always being reliant on people to like do things for you, because, like if you want a book in jail, it's like there's no way for you to get one other than like asking like your parents or your friends or whatever, like to send one for you. And that's like goes for everything. Like somebody needs to go put money on your book. Somebody needs to like do XYZ for you. It's just like you're always relying on people to do stuff for you without being able to reciprocate, and it's like always like this take relationship. I don't know. I mean, it's like, it doesn't feel good. Like just like always, oh, well, I'm in jail. Just do this for me,
Yeah, it forces you to be very vulnerable. And I imagine you're someone who likes to be in control. So it's hard to be vulnerable and relying on people. And, as we touched on before, it's not the most brilliant people or the most helpful people that end up in those systems. And even if they do at the beginning, that gets kind of beaten out of them. I want to ask you about your art, which is so fantastic and so beautiful. Did you always draw?
Pretty much. I mean, I guess, yes. It was not constant. I did it like in spurts. I was drawing as a kid, obviously. We had like art classes in school, and it's like in the college prep. And then I went to Parsons in Paris. I attended the fashion illustration classes, and from there, like kind of like abandoned that a little bit. But you still like learn to like operate like with the concepts of like the shape and the light and like, shading, how things look on flat surfaces,
Yeah, there's a lot of fashion illustration influence in your drawings. And tell us about how you had to get art materials smuggled in, because you weren't even allowed to have art materials. That's shocking. Even in English prisons, we can have art materials, and they're pretty barbaric.
I'd say like the prison is actually more permissive than a jail in New York. So it's like in prison, you can get all kinds of stuff. Like you can get erasers, all kinds of like colors, as long as like they don't contain any alcohol, you can get pretty much anything. While in jail, it's like very restrictive. I don't know, for whatever reason, because the people who are there, that they have not been convicted of a crime yet. So I don't know. It's really interesting actually to like observe that. But it's like I could not get paper larger than 9 by 12. So
Oh.
I mean, it's like, what kind of danger could possibly like larger paper could have posed? It's like, why?
You might do a Christo and wrap yourself in it and then post yourself or something.
I guess, yeah, that's probably the main concern. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could not have watercolors because it's like, oh, well, your makeup did not make it in. I'm like, what makeup?
That's fantastic. Love that. So you could have painted yourself as a parrot or something. So how did you get the watercolors in?
I did not. I never had any.
Oh.
Everything that I've done, it was like with pen and pencil. The pens that we have, they are like the security pens. They're like flexible, so you can stab anybody with them. Yeah.
Lovely. Tell me about over the eyes. When you draw yourself, you draw sort of a black stripe across your eyes. What does that represent?
It's the play on, like, when you have like the crime shows and like they're trying to hide your identity.
Oh, yes.
It kind of like assumes that you're like a criminal or something, or like, so it's kind of like a play on that a little bit.
I love that. They look like very glamorous sunglasses, actually. They look great. How is your art doing? I know you've got limited edition run of prints and some originals for sale now. How are they doing? How are they selling?
Great. I mean, it's been getting like a ton of publicity. I am actually doing like a big thing tomorrow where like an artist is coming over and she's like giving me a master class in acrylics, and we're like filming us doing that. But so I was able to get all kinds of stuff. I have like all kinds of supplies, all kinds of canvases. So I'm very excited to be able to experiment with those new like tools that I have at my disposal.
Yeah, it's exciting. I love getting new art materials. I used to buy handbags and Chanel, and now I'm obsessed with brushes and paints. It's fantastic. Much better obsession, much cheaper. Tell us about what you're working on now. What sort of art are you? What's your next project? What's your next art piece going to be?
I'm looking to implement some like color and just like using different tools and different surfaces. So like, as I said, I was able to like get all those canvases as opposed to like watercolor paper that I've been using while in jail. And I'm like working with like squares and round surfaces and the wood panels. So I have some of those, and I just have like, watercolors that I was not able to have while I was in jail, and acrylics and all kinds of like gold, silver paint. So I can have like pretty much anything I want, whatever like is going to get into my doors. It's exciting. It's like, when you can just like, when you go from nothing to like everything, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So it's like, I'm just going to experiment, I guess, and see what's going to fit.
That's fantastic. That's such a great opportunity. It's brilliant. So your day, I know you have a house arrest situation, but you're not restricted what you can do except for social media. You have limited freedom, but at least you're out, you're in your house. What does that feel like? Are you allowed to go out for a walk? Are you allowed to get any fresh air? Can you go to the gym?
Well, I'm allowed to move within my building, and it's like if my building had a gym or pool, I'd be able to go there. So I'm like, I'm looking to move somewhere bigger. But now it's like, it's really funny because we just asked the judge for modification and he denied that. So it's like, I can leave like if I feel like that I'm dying.
Okay.
But pretty much for anything else, that would be a no.
Oh God, that's not good.
In order to like go see a doctor, I need to have some serious symptoms for me to justify that. I mean, it's interesting.
Tell me, you have such a great platform now. You've come out, you've done your time, you've paid your dues, you've made restitution, quite a lot of restitution. What are your thoughts about using your platform to make the justice system better? Because, as I said before, I've read some of your writing about
the flaws in the justice system when it comes to women. But would you like to use your platform to help make it better for women who come after us? And how would you like to do that?
Yes, absolutely. So actually, like I am in touch with like multiple of like criminal justice and immigration reform organizations. They're like based in New York and Washington, and that would be in the context of my dinners. So it's like ideally what I would like to achieve with it is basically to bring the attention, like with all the celebrities I'm about to have. It's like, it's like kind of like to offer them the media impact value and just like to shine the light on the issues that I've personally been through, like I can relate personally to.
And sorry, how would you do that? Did you say with your dinners?
That's right. So it's like, I mean, there are so many ways to do that. So it's like, I'm just trying to connect with people who are experienced in that field.
Good, because you have an important message and you've done your time and your voice matters, and you've gone through experiences that most people won't have, and you have a platform. So, use it. It's brilliant that you want to do that. Finally, I wanted to ask you, what would be better alternatives to prison for women? There's a really interesting intersection that we've covered slightly about migrant women, women, and the way that we're treated by the justice system. What do you think would be better to help these women who are let down by the services meant to assist them?
For immigration or for criminal, because it's just like so different, because I feel like it's so unjustified that people with immigration offenses would end up being subjected to the same conditions as somebody who committed a crime, because you end up pretty much criminalizing immigration because, just because you like done something wrong for immigration purposes. I would feel like it should be like if somebody chooses like to take away all your freedom and like all the choices that you can possibly make for yourself, they would need to provide like support, as in terms of like some kind of like a counseling, somebody who would sit you down and say, it's like, oh, well, why did you do what you've done? It's like, how can we prevent that from happening? That did not happen to me personally. It's like, they just take away everything from you. Like they make you comply with like this arbitrary program that may or may not be good for everybody. Everybody just gets the same treatment. It's no matter what you've done. It's like if you killed, I don't know, your boyfriend or whatever, like, or if you like sold like a gram of cocaine, I don't know, like everybody just gets the same treatment. And that should not be the case.
So you got no mental health support while you were in prison or in jail?
No, all they offer you would be like medication.
Oh, gosh. And I have a last question for you, which is, there's been so much written about you and so much obviously portrayed about you in the papers, Netflix, obviously, everywhere you look, there's a Anna Delvey story. How do you feel about that? And do you feel that you own your own story now?
This is what I'm attempting to achieve that now. I don't feel like I own my story because I feel like the Netflix narrative was like kind of ubiquitous and just like took over everything. So even reasonable people keep thinking like this is actually me and this is the real version of me, which is not the truth. Yeah, so I felt like people just take fiction for reality. So I will forever have to like fight against that perception. I don't know, like about forever, but maybe for like an extended period of time, definitely. But you can blame them because that was like the only version of me that was out there.
Did you participate in that Netflix documentary?
Yes and no. The way I was approached with it, it was like, well, Netflix bought the story from New York Magazine and Jessica Pressler because, they're the ones who own the rights to it. And they were like, well, we are doing it anyways. It's like, if you want to be part of it, like, we're going to get you on as a consultant. Like, if not, not a big deal. So it's like, it was not presented to me in a way. It's like, oh my gosh, we need you. And like, otherwise we won't do anything. So it's like, it was like, I was always in damage control mode with that whole thing.
That must be incredibly traumatic to have your story and your life story hijacked like that, told through someone who's quite hostile. That must be very traumatic for you. And I hope that you do succeed in reclaiming your own narrative, because I think that's really important. And I know for me, I paint, and I know for me that my art and my writing has really helped me to reclaim who I am and tell my own story, whatever's written about me or people, want to write about me. It kind of really helps me. So I hope that helps you too.
Thank you. I mean, yeah, definitely. It's like I found like different ways of dealing with what's happening to me. It's like, I guess, yes. Just like being creative and creating like drawing and making my art was like one way, an outlet, like something to focus on, something I look forward to, a way to like express my feelings and thoughts on things that happened to me. So it was a huge outlet, definitely.
So, Anna, this next edition of The View, which is the magazine that we publish, is going into women's prisons, detention centres and women's centres all over England. We've got some funding from Lush, which is the handmade cosmetic company. They've given us some funding to print this edition. We would be absolutely delighted if you'd share with us a drawing to publish in the magazine, because I think it would really mean a lot to the women in prison, because sometimes, as you know, when we're there sitting inside those four walls with the door slammed shut and no light and no air, you really can't see how you're gonna get through this, how you're gonna get to the end of this. And sometimes seeing someone like you who's got through it and kind of turned it on its head and is making a success of her life and saying, yeah, this happened to me, but I've moved on. It would be such a pleasure to publish one of your drawings. So please think about sending us a drawing for the next edition of the magazine, and we'll make sure that you get some print copies as well, because I think your story would really reach some of the women who, you're trying to reach and that we're reaching as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And is there anything, Anna, that you would say to your 16-year-old self, to your younger self? Sometimes we look back, I'm a lot older than you, but sometimes we look back and think, God, if I would have known that when I was 16, my life would be so different. Is there anything that you would like to say to your 16-year-old self?
I mean, just like believe in yourself and like trust your gut. And I don't know, it's like, it's fine to make mistakes. That's how you learn, because, obviously I'm not the first person to be alive, to grow up. It's like, it just doesn't resonate the same way. Like if somebody tells you how things work, as opposed to like when you just find them out the hard way. Just stay true to yourself. And yeah.
That's great advice. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to end this podcast to the people listening? So we have a huge variety of people listening. We have lots of lawyers and judges and policymakers. To end off, what's the last word from Anna Delvey?
Well, just like kind of always believe in what your end goal is, and like don't really like take advice that you don't that you don't want to hear. This is like what happened to me, for example. So many people told me that ICE will never let me out and I will be deported. And there's just no way that I will be let out in New York. And like, look at me now. So it's like the laws are fluid. They change all the time. And you just need to find the right lawyer who would just like will want to push your vision through. So
that's excellent advice. That's really brilliant advice. And I just want to add that if there's anything at all that we can do to help you to amplify, or anything that, we can do to help in any way, then we're here. You're part of our family now, of our Rebel Justice family. So stay in touch, and I'm sure we'll do another one when there's progress on your immigration status. And as I said, if there's anything at all that we can do to help and to amplify, then we are here.
Awesome. Of course.
Anna, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure, and good luck, really best of luck with your legal proceedings. And I really hope that your art brings you some joy and some peace, and that you're actually